All right, so I've been seeing a decent amount of stuff where people have been asking about developing paint kits and different things for some of the more offbeat aircraft. Because there's quite a few where you can go on Flight Sim TO or just straight from the developer and get actual paint kits. So this one I actually went ahead and threw together myself, which I'll admit I've only been messing with Blender for maybe a month at most. I've also discovered that I need both 4.1 and the 3.3, because if you are doing any type of development work with Flight Simulator, lo and behold, you need to use 3.3 to output any of the models. But that's a whole different topic for a whole different day, and frankly, way above my head to try to explain. Jonks has some great videos and a few others that have been in this game for a while. So, let's go ahead and run through how to get to this point. So I don't remember making any changes in there, so I'm not going to save that. All right. So hit A, delete. It's the first thing everyone does in Blender, even if they're going to be making a cube. You're going to need an importer and exporter for the GTLF files. You'll see where it says GTLF, they are different than what Microsoft uses. If you don't have community already saved, for your own sanity, please save it. If you're doing community aircraft, you're going to be going through there, finding it. If you're going to be going through and finding one that you have gotten from Marketplace or included, you're going to go into the official folder. There is a ton of crap to sift through. All right, Antonov. Some objects, airplanes, wheels, model, and whatever LOD has the lowest number. My understanding is that's just different models for different distances for it to be rendered. As you can see, it becomes a smaller file as time goes on. I'm sure that's just a way to save Flight Sim from going absolutely bonkers trying to render a fully detailed aircraft that you're not going to see. So, we're going to jump up here. There's no frost, which that would just be an overlay for where ice would build up. It will also drive you absolutely nuts while you're trying to do your setup. All right, remove the prop blur, which is just typing in blur, hitting these little guys. You can also, I believe it's hitting H. Haven't messed with it in a while. Let's see, windows, we're not going to need those where we're going. All right, cool, so it is H. And then just anything you don't need, you can click it, hit H. We're not going to need any of these windows. All right, cool. Not going to need registration number. All right, that's looking pretty clean. Beautiful. All right. So I already know for this one, the easiest way is going to be go ahead and click the front of the fuselage. Go to Material. We'll go to Texture Paint. On the body one, just throw a random texture in there because we are going to be going in and replacing it with the included ones. So, of course, that didn't work. Scroll on down. And go ahead and Control C that, just so I can get back in there quicker. All right. Texture base for this one. So that's the body one. So we're going to want the body one albedo. And Shazam. You can see something happened, but you can't really see it. So go up here to that viewpoint shading. Actually, no, I'm a goober. That is sufficient. Let's see where the smoke and everything is. Go object mode. Start clicking random spots and going back and repeat. All right, landing engine. I will say that most of the stuff I've gotten off of Marketplace, the naming conventions line up across the board. I have encountered a couple where they are a little different, and it drives you absolutely bonkers. But make sure you're pulling the albedos. You can see even more stuff popped up. We got wheels and a prop. Decals, or for my people in the frozen north, there's a select few that say decals. Basically just going through and getting all of our textures squared away. No textures, you say? Have I clicked the wrong thing? Oh, that was weird. And it's a lot of rinse, wash, and repeat. So that was right wing. Which thing I do like about this plane in particular, they don't mirror the textures. So there are certain ones you're going to encounter where you'll put like a decal or paint over here, and you'll see it pop up mirrored over on that side. And short of going in and changing the UV mapping and other stuff, I really don't know a fix for that. If somebody does know, please throw a comment in there, so you can be saving the sanity of a lot of people. Imagine there should be rivets as well. There we go. Sometimes it's kind of a pain to click some of the things. Ooh, lights. I know Bagaloo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but the absolute legend that they are. They have another video that's actually how I learned how to do this. They do fly through the process. However, I will say that if you watch it at, say, half speed, 75 speed, it walks through this exact process, just not verbally explained. So if you prefer to hear someone rambling as they go through the process, I guess stick around. If not, you want a quicker way to do it, look up Bagaloo's video. Now, just for my own sanity, I've got it set up where I can hit Control Tab and just hit the numbers. It makes it quicker. You set that up in preferences, I believe. I've slept since then, so. What are you? I've got materials assigned, all that, so. All right, we got body 2. Get back to texture. The cool thing is once you've done one of these, you get the muscle memory down pretty good, because if you got a plane where there's a lot going on, it adds up to a lot of repetitions. And repetitions means muscle memory. That should just be, yeah, regular rivets. You are body 2. So that should be, yeah, that should be all of our textures. All right, so say for example, you want to paint directly in here. Just make sure that you are on texture paint. And most importantly, have the item itself selected. All right, why did it do this? Because I have not saved the files. So I already have a bunch of paint kits already developed. All right, so the files that we started with are DDS. Blender does not like DDS. So we're going to save them as PNGs. I have auto reload. I highly recommend that add-on for the process I'm about to show in a couple seconds. Probably a few minutes with how I ramble. If you encounter that little glitchy thing, save the file like I showed, and then hit Alt-R or go in here, hit reload. That is going to save you a lot of sanity. So, we're going to go through and save as. Recent tut. PNG. Save image as. So what? Alt-Shift-S. There we go. Biggest thing with Blender is learning the shortcuts because it saves your sanity. Going through, hitting all these things. I'm also operating on I don't know how much sleep, so I start going goofy like that, trying to save the same thing twice. You'll have to excuse me. Save as. Tut. No. We want you as a PNG. Going blind? There you are. Rinse, wash, repeat. No, not viewer node. In fact, can I delete you? No. So you were there forever. Save as. Tut. PNG. Do. Shave. Wing left. We're on the home stretch. And also, shit canning that second PNG is going to save you just that hair of time later on. Because you're going to end up wanting to save it as a DDS later. All right, beautiful. Still, got our little guy over here. You can also just throw it up into layout. Which up here, you've got different viewpoints. I usually kind of float between those two. This one, however, will let you see where you have painted. Well, those look a little wonky, but okay. It is more exaggerated than over here. So, my usual method of operation is I will rough out the appearance I want in here. So, say if I wanted, like on the previous one, a bunch of black, some red on here, I'll go through with the texture paint, fill. For each thing you're painting, so you want to paint up here, go to object mode, click that, go back to texture paint, and then whatever color you want, fill, click, rinse, wash, repeat. This program, I know a lot of people use paint.net. I have fallen in love with using this, and you will see why. Because it also does layers, but my favorite part to navigate my way to it is you have a lot of brushes. The downside, this will not play nice with DDS. Now you can get an import-export tool, but it does dork up the smoothness of the process I have figured out. That, and frankly, this only saves PNGs anyway. So I will not convert it over until later anyway. All right, so we got this little guy right here. There is also an Antonov. There it is. There's a pre-existing Antonov paint kit that I have already. Where it includes the UV lines. If you prefer to work with that, perfect. Because when you do open it into Krita originally, that will be a separate layer where you can make it disappear. Let's see if that... I've broken a lot of those files. All right, cool. So yeah. That way you can kind of get your reference of where you're working in there. And then when you go to actually save the file, you can just make that disappear. Otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of orange shit all over your plane. All right, so let's go back to the files that we're working with. All right. One of the keys with anything to do with images, liveries, tutorial, any of this type of stuff, work in layers. Because worst case scenario, you do something goofy, like, oh no, everything just turned red. That is safe. But then you can start going into things like this where you are keeping the details from before. So all that little grime, dirt, you're not fully getting rid of it. That's pretty gross looking. So what? Let's see what that looks like. Go ahead and save that. We have body 1 pulled up. Reload. Groovy. And the most exciting part, you still got your grime. Say that you don't like that. You dorked up and you did it to the actual main file. Control Z. Reload. You have not done yourself dirty and made something happen that you can't unfix. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and, you know what, let's make a obnoxiously red Antonov. No, we're not gonna go burn. Addition just looks goofy. Overlay isn't red enough. Saturation looks horrific. A lot of it's trial and error. If you are already good with these type of programs, you're probably sitting there laughing at me right now. So that was what, Alt-R? Yep, it's just not wanting to work for me. Oh no, it's just frozen. Sweet mother of God, what have I done? I broke the thing. I broke it. Not replace. Reload. Okay, so things just went a little wonky for a second. Reload all the images. So we will go ahead and blast through. Basically just doing the exact same thing across all of these. Get as detailed as you want with it. For tutorial purposes, I'm not going to bore you with the gritty details. I'm going to leave the decals alone for now. Ah, scheiße. We don't want copy background. We want a blank basis to go off of. Multiply. That might end up making the tires look goofy. Just a fair warning. If it does, we will go over how to unfornicate that. No. Surprisingly enough, I didn't screw it up. Neat. Now, the engine does look kind of goofy red, but we're not really shooting for pure accuracy here. Just the basic framework of how to do this. Let's do rivets. Now this one might be a little different just because we do have a transparency going on here. So that might come out a little goofy doing it just that simple way. That looks serviceable. Horseshoes and hand grenades right now. Or as my dad always said, C's get degrees, and that man has more degrees than anyone I know. All right, back to multiply again. That way, again, we're keeping those little fine details from before. Do. All right. Once you get a system figured out, it goes pretty quick if you're not getting into the nitty-gritty details. The nitty-gritty details will take you forever. I will lightly touch upon them, but it truly is something that you don't really fully get your mind wrapped around until you're messing with it yourself on your own project. And remember where I did that white? It's still showing through because of the multiply, but this is an old bird where some weird wonky things in the paint aren't really out of character, honestly. So for example, I know with the Eastol, a lot of us like to add our little decals and stickers. For that, say if we want to add it to the tail, in object mode, select that. Texture, make sure that we had the brush selected. That is why texture was not popping up. So I'm a goober. Stencil, add. Go down to texture. Open. I have my invisible or my transparent PNGs over here. So let's see. We want, say we want to put the Appalachian stole on here. We bump that into there. Bump that. It'll pop up here. Say if somehow that's coming through wonky, all distorted, you go through image aspect. That'll bump her back into shape. Hold down shift, right button on your mouse. You can resize it. Say you want it right there. You'll be cutting off some of it. Close enough for government work. So as you can see, I'm clicking all over here. It is not painting anything. The moment I go over it, it begins painting. Lo and behold, there are parts where it's missing. What has happened? Remember how I mentioned the rivet file might come back to bite us? Well, it did. So here's a little extra video to straighten that up. So we're going to do the magic wand outside of the things, just in the transparent layer, preferably with the background selected. I'm going to do invert. We're using multiply. I'm going to go ahead and paint in all the individual things. That was why it was biting us in the tail. And no, you're not supposed to do that. Because again, some things do not work out as intended. That's why sometimes doing a tutorial when you haven't had your coffee, about 4 hours sleep, doesn't bode well. So let's go ahead and get the rivets replaced. Example 158. I did not first make sure that that was white. Why is strength so low? We have unfornicated it. I'm a goober. So yeah, there we go. Excellente. So you want to add some muck and grime. Get another layer thrown up in here. I will usually dork around until I find a nice brown. And these texture files right here make it amazing. This is one of my go-to, the texture random particles. Because as you go, it'll kind of change how it's laying down the stuff, so it doesn't look like you're just copy and pasting the same texture over and over. Play with the opacity until it kind of blends in a little more realistically. Then as you go, you can just merge it into the layer below. And that's how you kind of add a little bit of realistic grime and dirt. I know this tutorial has been all over the place with my ADHD. Look at that. Now we have a dirty and worn decal. Go ahead and save that. Then hop back in here, reload. Shazam. It's subtle. But showing up on this side. So hopefully with those ramblings, you get a little better idea how you can throw together a little template to work off of, how to do some basic livery stuff, and then doing the decals and just adding a little bit of texture and grime if that's your thing. Let's see if we can get up close in here. Yeah, you can see it in the whites. All right. And once you're happy with how everything is, if you have set up the exporters, you can go ahead and export as DDS. If not, Paint.net has honestly been one of the best I've found for doing the DDS. I know a lot of people will just purely use Paint.net and not Krita. Just adding the PNG, since stock files will have the PNG.DDS. All right, wait for it to do its thing. And so I should preface this computer has integrated graphics. it runs pretty slow doing all this graphic stuff. It absolutely feels like a space heater right now. Yeah, that more or less does it. Pop back in there and excellent. We have our DDS file. And then you just convert all the others to DDS. I will admit that I typically cheat when it comes to setting up my files. I will find an existing livery and just swap out the texture files. Why reinvent what's already there? Because frankly, you mess up one thing in these files and all hell breaks loose, it seems. But yeah, that pretty well covers it. I know I have rambled for a good 45 minutes, give or take. So I'm going to cut this off, edit it, and throw it up on YouTube. Send your hate mail. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, throw it in the comments. Worst case scenario, if I don't know, I will try to find someone that knows a hell of a lot more than I do.